Well, it's Saturday, lucky September 13th, Eastern Time. I'm Bob Harris. It's time for the week two Ask Me Anything live stream. Before we get to the questions, and I see they're already starting, footballguys.com, that's your website. I appreciate you joining me here every Saturday at this time, noon Eastern, for on the Football Guys Live, not the Audible this year, Football Guys Live YouTube channel. Please subscribe and hit the notification thing and like me, comment, do all the things that the YouTube loves, and we'll sit here and talk through some things. In case you don't know me, Bob Harris, uh, you'll find me at footballguys.com. Every week I do the Daily Update podcast with my colleague Mike Nepson from my SiriusXM show. We'll talk about that in a second. Write the Fantasy Notebook every Thursday, Friday, 5 questions with Gary Davenport, a collaboration. Today, my In and Out column is out. They're all available on there. Thank you, Tip. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Appreciate you, man. Much love. You find me Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio with Mike Dempsey. Saturday nights tonight, 8 to 11 from NFL Radio, Channel 88, but also on Channel 87. They simulcast it, so nobody will miss it. And then tomorrow, the Sunday pregame show with Jeff Manns, 11 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Tons of fun stuff going on there. Hi, Andrea. Thanks for coming. Appreciate everyone being here. As always, I'll probably run through it. And yes, long-time viewers of this will realize it's last week wasn't, so this is yard week, yard guy week. So you hear a little noise in the background. It's them. They should be done soon. They started early, but I think it's much louder for me than it is for you. Well, maybe. Anyway, let's run through the injuries just to set the table and see where we're at on that. Start with the quarterback. Brock Purdy has been ruled out for this game. He's got a toe and shoulder issues. The toe seems to be the worst of it. It could be 2 to 5 weeks, they're saying. Mac Jones will get the start in Purdy's place. We saw he fueled some fantasy fortunes for Brian Thomas Jr. down the stretch in Jacksonville last year. So a lot of hope for Ricky Pearsall. Remember, George Kittle is out this game. He's on IR. He'll miss at least 4 weeks. Juwan Jennings is uncertain in this game. So Ricky Pearsall, maybe a little target funnel for him, which would be great for his investors. Christian McCaffrey in line for a big game against the Saints as well. He is off the injury report this week. Other running back issues. Sounds like UFOs are landing on my doorstep right now. Judkins listed as questionable for the. Sounds like the report this morning, Ian Rappaport and Gordon Schultz, all the insiders are kind of suggesting that it looks like they'll try and get him on the field. Hey, Toby, thanks for coming. Appreciate y'all being here. It sounds like they want to try and get him on the field. I'll just remind you, he has not practiced since June. We talk a lot here on this live stream about like concerns. My concerns, I talk a lot about it. Concerns about guys who missed practice in August. He hasn't had any practice. He's had 2 days of practice, Thursday and Friday. Thursday, a full practice. Friday, a walkthrough. So that's something worth noting. Dylan Sampson, Jerome Ford's still there as well. Jalen Wright listed as doubtful. Again, he didn't play last week. He's not going to play this week. Ollie Gordon gets another run as running back 2 there in Miami. Roschon Johnson will return this week. Will Shipley's been ruled out. The Eagles acquired. If they move away from it. I know it's not as loud for you as it is for me, but it's like I almost can't hear myself talking. Will Shipley ruled out. As I said, the Eagles acquired Tank Bigsby in a trade, so he'll be standing by as needed. They also have A.J. Dillon, so I don't know if we'll see much Tank Bigsby. The story was that they were going to use Tank Bigsby for kickoff returns. I don't know that you pay 2 draft picks for a kickoff return guy. Wide receiver position, Xavier Worthy's listed as doubtful. Seems unlikely to go. Hollywood Brown got, 16 targets, led the league in targets, 42% target share last week, so that was great. Good morning. I'll get to the questions here. Good morning. Also get to the questions here. We'll have this discussion. Stay tuned for this. So yeah, Drake London is okay. Darnell Mooney's going to play, a guy who hasn't practiced much either, but Drake London, great matchup for me. Juwan Jennings, I mentioned earlier, probably very uncertain to me. Didn't practice most week. He did get on the field Friday with a little shoulder. Has a shoulder issue. He hurt last week. sidelined him early. Christian Kirk, probably not going to play. That's a Monday night game. And also Braxton Berrios unlikely to play in that game. Wan'Dale Robinson questionable. He seems likely to play. Malik Neighbors off the injury report. The tight ends, Dallas Goedert ruled out. Evan Ingram off the injury report. Isaiah likely ruled out. Mason Taylor is questionable. Seems likely to play. Darren Waller's not going to play. The big news is Brock Bowers Monday night. Seems very much up in the air. I left out a wide receiver, Josh Reynolds. It wasn't on purpose, I promise. But Brock Bowers, Monday night, I would go out and be grabbing Michael Mayer if I could. He had all 4 of his targets in the game last week. I would like, if I had an opportunity to play Brock Bowers, I want to play him. So I'd like to give myself a fallback. So if you're out there sorting through the debris, there's 2 Monday night games, but only, this is the latest one. So it could be Trey Tucker, Deontay Foreman. Oh, by the way, Xavier Worthy just now ruled out. So the doubtful designation goes to 100% out. So not a huge surprise there. He's unlikely to play. As I mentioned, we had 40+% charge share. I'm not keen on Travis Kelce in this game, so we'll see what Hollywood Brown gets another chance to be the superstar here. We'll see how that goes. All right, we'll get to the questions here. Let me do a little quick bit of work here. Sounds like the yard guys are moving on. Yes, the yard guy story. Here's the thing: it's like every other week, all year long. I can't do anything about it. They do the entire street, whether I keep them here on my street or not. They're going to be here, so we just have to live with it. I think it's not as loud for you as it is for me, but it's definitely loud for me. All right. I want to get to one thing. I saw the one question right off the bat. Have I settled on Charbonnet or Walker? I have not. Possible the Seahawks have though, right? I mean that's going to be the question. Who the Seahawks settle on? There was a really interesting article on a site called Field Goals. They kind of do deep dives on the Seahawks, and there was a pretty interesting film presentation of why Kenneth Walker. Their theory on why Kenneth Walker isn't playing is because he isn't doing the one cut. He's making the wrong cuts, the wrong reads, and the wrong cuts. And that's been the knock against Kenneth Walker over the course of his career, right? He's a home run hitter. He looks to bounce things out and thinks his feet can carry the day. When really, if he just hits the whole cuts, and Zach Charbonnet is doing more on that. So I'm still leaning towards Walker at this point because I think I'm not looking at the 1 week sample is not good. Walker, I'm not let's not forget it was. Let's look at the numbers here real quick. If I can have them because obviously I've been following this fairly closely. Walker played 21 snaps. They had 52 snaps. Walker played 21. Charbonnet was on the field for 30. Walker had 13 touches, 24 yards. Charbonnet 12 carries, 47 yards. So it was still a relatively even split workload wise, but honestly, this could go either way. And based on what I was seeing last night, looking at the little tape that said Walker does need to do some things better, maybe he'll do them better, right? That's the thing about all this. It's going to be a little bit of a process. Right now, if I have options that I feel like more comfortable with, like if I'm sitting here today and I'm deciding, and let's say I have both those backs. I have Walker, Charbonnet, and I also have Javonte Williams. I'm not thinking Javonte Williams is a world killer. I'm not thinking of a single game where he wasn't running against Jalen Carter but got 2 touchdowns or 2 of the situations. It's great, but what he did get was 80% of the workload, right? I don't think that changes. Let's say Jaden Blue's active. That probably comes at the expense of Miles Sanders, who wasn't great. I don't see a world in the short term where Javonte Williams isn't getting a dominant share of that workload. Do I feel more comfortable with that floor than I do playing either Charbonnet or Walker or both of them? I don't know. I mean, maybe you can make an argument that you play both of them, you get a single running back one output. But it's going to be tough until we get some certainty. And here's the thing: we're going to have these discussions throughout the month of September, right? Because it's uncertain. Week 1, huge variance every year. I've talked about in this week's fantasy minimum. 13 quarterbacks hit 20 points in a general season, like 6 hit that. There are weeks where you get these spikes. But week 1 is always just a strange week. Weird things happen. Get back to last year. New Orleans Saints are the best offense in all of football heading into week 2, and they carried it through to week 2 too. But did it hold? No. So there's things we'll have to get around, and there'll be evolutions. I always talk about this. You will hear me say this a lot. You can be right and wrong about the same thing multiple times the year. Right and wrong are not proven conditions, right? And that makes it a struggle for us. We're trying to win games to get through September. I do think we get a little clarity and we start getting a little more normalization as we get into October. But you want to win games in the interim, so there are some tough decisions to be made, and Walker Charbonnet is going to be one of them. So, as I said, my approach would be if I have somebody who I feel comfortable playing or I'm comfortable with the workload, maybe I'd like to do that. If I have, let's say, Kenneth Walker as a standalone on a roster, like I do in a lot of cases, I wasn't interested in paying the high insurance premium for Zach Charbonnet, and maybe I should have. But I'm going to look not at 1 week. I'm going to look at the entire offseason. Like Kubiak showed up in February saying Kenneth Walker was the best player he wanted to put the ball in the game. That was repeated over the course of the entire offseason. The numbers last year when Kenneth Walker was on the field verified that he did a great job. It's a new system, right? But he seems to be ideally suited if he runs it right. If he quit, and that's again the knock on him has been the home run, trying to hit the home runs, right? Where he doesn't just take what the offense is giving him, he tries for more, and to his detriment. He also has to stay healthy. So all these things are true. So yes, that's what I've settled. Absolutely nothing, Tony. I hope that was totally helpful. That's kind of where we're at, though, at this point in time, right? It's a bit of a struggle. So anyway, we'll head into week 2 and we'll start pulling some things out. Let me get to your questions. See who showed up here. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Let's get to the questions. There's Jim. Good to see you, Jim. Thanks for coming. All right, first question. First, I have a wide receiver log again this week. Jameson Williams, Coleman, Keyshawn Boutte in standard. Also, as the two quarterback league, where all touchdowns are 6 points, when you trade C.J. Stroud and Jameson Williams for May and Adunze. I would rather have May than Stroud, so I would probably do this. I think you've got a little bit of edges to the logjam. Also, questions, if you think about it, people use first names, last names, and where they're playing at helps me process the information a little faster. I know this, but also helps me process faster. So, all those guys are in the same range. I think, so Keyshawn Boutte is an interesting case, right? Because we're thinking, wow, it's one big game. How excited should we be about that? Well, it's more than one big game. I think if you go back to the last 4 games, only 4 wide receivers have more yardage than Keyshawn Boutte. Right? He's been very good. And this has been an off-season long drumbeat. It's not a single. It's we've been hearing this going back to OTAs that he was going to be a guy, to the point where Tom Curran said about 2 weeks ago that he will be surprised. He won't be surprised if Keyshawn Boutte is the most productive receiver in this offense. And so we'll see about that. Here's the 4 receivers. I wanted to look this up because it's a great number. 4 receivers: Drake London, Malik Neighbors, Ricky Pearsall, and Ladd McConkey. Those are the 4 receivers who have more receiving yards than Keyshawn Boutte over the last 4 regular season games. So if we think Drake May is going to be a thing, and I kind of do, then yes, Keyshawn Boutte is a good play. Here's the thing about Coleman. Tough matchup this week. He's going to get Sauce Gardner and the Jets. And I know DK Metcalf had a decent week last week. Most of that decentness did not come against Sauce Gardner. Gardner followed him the entire first half and most of the game. But the plays where he didn't, I think he held Metcalf to 4 catches and 11 yards on the plays he covered. So you're expecting Coleman to get that coverage. The other problem for me with Coleman is, there are going to be times I'd like to believe that Josh Allen would like to make him the top target. Maybe Andrea would agree with this up there in Buffalo. First round draft capital, all the things we like, big physical player. Josh Allen doesn't seem to be afraid to throw to him in tight windows, all those things. But the design of this offense, the thing that Joe Brady drills into Josh Allen is not feeding a single guy, not focusing on a single guy, finding the open guy every single play. They believe that's responsible for Josh Allen having his lowest interception rate of his career last year. And so that's been hammered in his head. Will he buck that and start force feeding Keon Coleman even in super tight situations? Well, he did late in this game when it mattered most. So maybe that's worth something. I'm probably going Boutte here. I'll say this, just a thought on Detroit's offense while we're on this. It was bad last week. It was bad for Cincinnati last week, right? Again, week 1 is what happened week 1 is not necessarily what's going to happen week 2. Maybe the things we expect to happen will happen. Also, I have it on good authority. Green Bay's defense is very good, and that authority is 2 games of very good defense, right? By the way, Washington, we just got word this morning that Austin Ekeler is confirmed the Achilles is torn, so he's done for the year. We kind of knew that. Jaden Reed out for at least 6 weeks. Focus followed on that game. Oh, just a little news here. So Quinshon Judkins is activated. So he will be available. Seems like he will make his NFL debut. I don't think I play him this week again for the reasons I have. He hasn't practiced since June. Let's see. Royal Slade back in the game. We need to drop two for a kicker to defense. Brian Robinson, our CMC, Ollie Gordon, Bashal Putin. Can't drop you. Okay? You're a fan. You're Aaron Eagles. You're a Patriots guy. It would probably be Gordon for me. Man, that's painful. I guess Royal would depend a little bit on who your other players are. I really don't want to drop Tayshaun Boutte. I think he might be a real thing. I think this might not be a mirage. I'd like to not let go of that. But also, Bashal Putin is one step closer to having a pretty robust role. I wouldn't want to get rid of him either. Brian Robinson is definitely a handcuff, and if something happens to CMC, probably in the short term, if you release Brian Robinson, the CMC investor is going to be all over. Gordon, you might be able to get back. Putin, I don't know, probably not. Okay, someone's going to grab it. You don't have a backup quarterback? Let's revisit this. That's tough. We're going to come back to this. Hello, Jeff Bolt. Thank you for coming. I'm good. Start sit half point. Pickens versus the Giants. Pearsall at New Orleans, or perhaps Henderson at Miami. I would probably play Pearsall on this one. I think he's going to get a huge starter share, and it's pretty, Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison, Cardinal secondary is not super daunting, especially the perimeter where Pearsall will be playing today. Like I'm fine. Like Pickens seems like we're going to get kind of some Pickens games like last week. Was there a penalty last week? Some mediocre production. I don't know. There's going to be big weeks, right? And you're going to be tempted to play him after every one of his big weeks. I'm probably not. I just like Pearsall for the target. Like Henderson, there's talk this week. My priest from ESPN reported they were looking to shake up the percentage of the usage in the backfield. It was heavily towards Ramondre Stevenson in week one. Maybe we'll see more Henderson. Maybe not. Maybe we'll see more of Antonio Gibson. Obviously they think TreVeyon Henderson is a great playmaker, but probably until I see it, I'm probably going with a little more certain volume. Hey, Levi. Who would I rather start this week and hold on to going forward this week and moving forward? Cowboys defense, Eagles defense, or Texans defense? I like the Texans. A lot of disruptive playmakers on that team. I wouldn't like. I'd be fine playing any of these defenses. I'd probably rank them in reverse order. Hey, Texans, Eagles, Cowboys. Hi, Brad Stewart. I need one for my flex and a full point PPR. Travis Hunter or Calvin Ridley. So Travis Hunter got enough work to be a solid, a viable wide receiver three candidate. I think like Calvin Ridley is going to be fine over the course of the season. It might take a little time to normalize. I don't know if this is, it's not like a great secondary against Rams this week. So I'm gonna go to the projections because honestly, on this one, I might be underestimating Ridley. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go. They're they're consecutive. It's 26 and 27 on the projections. Not my rankings, which are probably very close to this, but I like to go to the projections. We got a multi-man team there. Jason Wood, Mario Tremblay, Sigma Bloom, doing the projections. Calvin Ridley's 26 and Hunter's 27. I think that probably sounds about right. I'd rather go with the wide receiver one, even in a lesser offense than the wide receiver two, and what looks like it's going to be a run heavy Jaguars offense. That seems to be the desired outcome there. Have CPN. No more Tag Pigsby, by the way, as I mentioned earlier. So if you're just tuning in, we kind of touched on that. Toby barely pulled out a W. No thanks to Andrews and Jameson. Stick with Andrews this week versus Cleveland or pivot to Juwan Johnson. Also Jameson versus Chicago or Keon Coleman. I think I kind of ran through that one. I think the projections like Coleman a little better than they like Williams. Yeah. Like I don't like the coverage, but like until we see what's going on in Detroit, a little normalization, I would probably go for there too. I don't. Again, the matchup is tough. Feel like Sauce Gardner, they're in the same tier. Um, on the like, I like Mark Andrews this week. He has great history against Cleveland. You wonder if they aren't going to be focused on getting the ball. There were a couple problems, I guess, to me was he wasn't on the field as much as you would expect with Isaiah Likely out. I'm hoping they rectify that a little bit this week, and I'm hoping they force him the ball. The Browns, one of the most generous defenses in the NFL, two tight ends, and Andrews has a great history there. So I'd be tempted. If it was me, I'd be tempted to stick with him. But here's the argument for Juwan Johnson. He has like a 90% route participation rate, huge target share, like 30%. He's one of those tight ends where he's basically the team's wide receiver three. You've got Chris Olave or CCP. Brandon Cooks is the wide receiver three, but I think I could say the de facto wide receiver three is Juwan Johnson based on what we saw. We also saw another interesting thing was Kellen Moore's offense. They didn't have to throw the ball as they did. I mean, they were in the game the whole time. The 2013 loss, they threw the ball 46 times. It's a lot of volume. I believe we have Andrews ranked at the mid range or 6 or 7 on the Football Guys consensus or projections, and Juwan Johnson's tight end 10. I would not talk you out of Juwan Johnson. Had to start sit debate, did Jeff Bolt earlier this week. Do I risk Bowers or play Kraft? I didn't play Kraft. Kraft 25 points, picked up my so like I mean that's what you do. Those are decisions. I'm not going to knock anyone who sat Kraft in favor of an opportunity to play Bowers. I talked about this a lot on the radio over the summer, and I wrote about it a lot. I was a little reluctant to pay the historic premium for Brock Bowers. That's expensive. Second round. Is going to progress a little bit. We've got some new systems there. As I got into the summer, closer to the season, I started realizing that, man, this guy, just like talking to people covering team on a daily basis, just he's a different cat, is Brock Bowers. So, and arguably, like if Juwan Johnson is the de facto wide receiver three in New Orleans, like Harold Fannin Jr. might be that in Cleveland too, by the way. You think of him as a tight end, you might want to think of him as a wide receiver three. But you could absolutely think of Brock Bowers as wide receiver one for our purposes, or for at least, when you're assessing his value. Great game last week, 500 yards, 5 catches, 100 yards in 3 quarters. So it was great. So yes, I don't knock you for doing that, but I also think Tucker Kraft is that guy we saw in that game. I don't know if every game will be that great, but he's very capable. Hitting you with a few here. Well, that's fine. I am here for a few. 6 point Fields versus Buffalo or May versus Miami. I'm probably going to default to Fields in a lot of cases until he proves, until he asks me not to. Like I don't want to, I don't want to oversimplify things, but it's that rushing equity we're after, right? And if we look back to his time, like week one was any indication, he still has that, obviously, right? He tied for quarterback two last week with 29 points. From Hudson Brown had a nice piece recently, but he noted from 2022 to 2023 as Chicago starters, Fields ran for 40 plus yards in 20 of 28 starts. He topped 100 yards multiple times over that course. And even with a limited passing profile, he finished as a top 10 quarterback in 15 of 28 games. Got a good receiving asset in Garrett Wilson. We saw him make use of that in Chicago as well. DJ Moore was wide receiver 6 during his first season in Chicago. So I'm playing Fields. Like I love Drake May this week. I think it's a great matchup. Who was Justin Fields' quarterback too? It was the great Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones, who played the Miami defense that Drake May is playing. So I see the argument there. And Drake May also, he averaged more yards rushing per game in the games he played than Josh Allen. So there you have that. But for me right now, Fields until further notice. So he makes me stop. Andrea needs one super flex. Andrea always has the hardest decisions because she destroys her opposition threats. Charbonnet versus Pitt, Rome Odunze versus Detroit, Bryce Young versus Arizona BBR. That is a tough one, man. I'm gonna have to own up to my disappointment of Bryce Young. Really liked the way he finished last season. Thought coming into this year that he could build on that. He did not build on that. He tried to demolish it. The Panthers are optimistic. They think he played well against Arizona last year. They're very hopeful. Like, I guess this is the thing, Andrea. Like, the outcome was not great, right? But like, do you want the guy with the ball in his hands every time? I think that's what makes quarterbacks so valuable in Superflex. Um, so, I mean, like for me, Charbonnet, I think he got a workload similar to last week. I like that compared to a Bryce Young kid. Probably. If Roma Dunze got the targets he got last week, didn't do a lot with them, but he got them, and in a PPR that matters. I'm probably still going Bryce Young, but I might be crazy. It'd be Young, Dunze, and Charbonnet for me. So I use Baker Mayfield, Trevor Lawrence, or pick up Matt Stafford as Purdy's replacement. You could use Baker Mayfield. I don't love him this week going against the Texans. I might like Trevor Lawrence more this week, but if I'm looking bigger picture and for the longer run, I'd rather have Baker Mayfield. Thank you, Jim. Oh, look here, Wendy Early. I should scroll down the chat more often. You never know who's there. I have May and Herbert. Ah, okay. So you can't drop a quarterback. We'll revisit. I have that question started. I'm going to get back to it. Yes, Xavier Worthy, in case you missed it, has been ruled out just now, and Quinton Judkins added to the active roster. Whatever the injuries at the start of the program, I'll do that at the start of every program. But if you missed it, just because I know some people got in late, a quick overview. No Brock Purdy this week. Quinton Judkins active available to play. There'll be no Jalen Wright. He's doubtful. No Will Shipley. He's been ruled out. Drake London, Darnell Mooney are both fine. Juwan Jennings questionable seems pretty dicey to me. No Christian Kirk, probably no Braxton Berrios. Josh Reynolds has been ruled out. Wandale Robinson should play. Malik Neighbors off the injury report. Said London and Mooney off the injury report. Brock Bowers is the big questionable at tight end late Monday night game. Dallas Goedert out. Isaiah Likely out. Darren Waller out. Mason Taylor questionable. Seems like he'll play. Evan Ingram off the injury report. That's good news. About. So there. All right. Let's get back to the questions. Find out where I was. If I miss you in a question, it's not on purpose. So listen to people in the chat. If they help you out with that, that'd be fantastic. I know they always do. Tracy versus Dallas, or Keenan Allen versus Vegas. Boy, I'm probably like to me the safe play is Tyrone Tracy in this game. Maybe we'll see more Cam Scatterboo. I don't know, but I think Tracy's in a pretty good spot here. I do think there are going to be games where Keenan Allen is not as productive as last game. This might not be the game where he's less productive than he was against the Chiefs. It's a great matchup. Justin Herbert looks like he's playing as good a football as anybody in this moment. I'd be really tempted to go Keenan Allen here. I guess it's your flex, so I'm hoping you have really high-end options at the other positions. You want to take a little bit of a – you have the room to take a little bigger swing there at Keenan Allen. If you feel like you don't have that room and you want more, it's Tyrone Tracy. Jim is – I think we're in the same place. Oh, is my audio not working? Hadn't heard that. I should scroll down. How's the audio now? I'm hoping it's better. I had no idea. The audio was great last week. Appreciate that, though. Full PPR, Hubbard or Sutton for the flex. I'm probably going Hubbard there. I do so tough matchup last week. The Colts were, but they've got a lot of injuries. Ward is out. Jalen Jones is out. They've got a lot of issues in the secondary. I know Bo Nix struggled last week. I think it might be a little better for Sutton this week, but I'd probably still go Hubbard. Hello. Sounds good? Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Maybe it was the yard guys that were interfering earlier. It happens. So that's where I'm at on Sutton, though. I was kind of like, as I did my in and out column, I was going to be out on him. He's projected to be wide receiver 14 this week. I don't think that. I thought that was like maybe a little high. if everyone was on board, but not everyone's on board. We've got multiple injuries in that secondary, so he's a little better play. Hubbard is still the safer play, though, against Arizona this week. Thank you, Jim. Half point PPR, passing TD, 6 points. Use Trev Mayfield or Trevor Lawrence. I'd be using Trevor Lawrence this week. But if it's big picture, longer term, I'd use Baker Mayfield. Hello, Parker. Would I drop Dylan Sampson for Cedric Tillman? If I'm not playing Dylan Sampson, yes. Also, yes. You have enough. You have enough firepower to do this, probably. But I mean, at some point, Sampson's going to give way to Quinshon Judkins. I don't know that you're playing Sampson this week. Maybe you are. That seems like both of them are depth pieces to me right now. So I don't know if there's a sense of urgency to do this. You want to get one more game maybe out of Sampson if he's playing against your flex level. If you're, you know, I'm guessing you're playing Swift and Pollard. I mean, even if the outcomes weren't great week one, the volume was. I'm not big on Swift this week either, but probably would play him over Sampson for sure. So yeah, I think longer term, I'd rather have Cedric Tillman. By the way, every game they've played together, Cedric Tillman has outproduced Jerry Jeudy. It's like a 5-game sample. But you go back to last year, right after Amari Cooper was traded, Cedric Tillman had 3 remarkable games. They got the concussion. It's very tough. Very tough. Hello, John. Thank you for coming. Hutchinson Brown is a very kind man. I already cited you this morning, too. Let's see. Is that true? I don't know if I am the best. I'm the best when I'm right. Went with my old rule of starting players. I drafted in the first 4 rounds, so I started McLaurin in all my high stakes leagues where I could have started Keenan or Hollywood time to rethink. I don't know. Like, how do you? So, I mean, like, should we had to include that Keenan Allen was going to be better than we thought? Well, here's the thing we know about Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh offenses: they generally support one fantasy wide receiver at a time. This game, they supported 3, right? Like, so that's an unusual twist. I don't know how you see that coming. That said, I mean, Keenan Allen has a long history with Justin Herbert, 100 catches. I think every year we'll won with him. So maybe we should have seen it coming. I think more the bigger concern is the offense. But right now, I don't think that's a concern. Hollywood, no. I don't know why you would start with, like I got it. We talked about it probably last week. I don't know if you were here or not last week, John. But I have concerns about guys who miss August, who don't practice at all in August. And one of them I talked about was AJ Brown. We'll talk about him in a minute. But I don't, like there comes a point where you're outsmarting yourself, not playing Terry McLaurin in favor of a Hollywood Brown or Keenan Allen. I don't think any of the expectations would have led me to make that decision. Easier in hindsight than in advance. I'll say that. Good for you, of course. Should I start QJ and Coleman or Shakir and Coleman and Shakir? Probably, yeah. If you have Josh Allen, you're already getting whatever he's throwing to those other 2. You're getting a share of that already. I would probably we have Coleman ranked ahead of him again. I'm worried about the coverage. Like I don't think you're going to get 2 touchdowns every week, Kyle Super Audio. I don't. So, and as I mentioned, generally the Chargers make it for one fantasy receiver at a time. Patriots are trading wide receiver Jalen Polk to the Saints. So maybe Juwan Johnson won't be the wide receiver 3, but he will be this week. Jalen Polk traded. See what else is happening while I've been chatting. All right, that was it. Quinshon Judkins, Jalen Polk. Congratulations to him for getting a new opportunity where he obviously did not have one before. Do a little quick post of this. Bear with me. Appreciate your patience. So here's what I would say, Kyle Siebert Audio. I would say, like, I'm guessing this is the tail end. I'm curious who your top one or two maybe are. I'm probably going to go Quentin Johnston, Coleman. Like, yeah, so here's the problem with me with Buffalo. I'll say it again because I already explained it once already, but probably not enough. The Bills' offense is designed to find the open man. That's what's being drilled into Josh Allen's head. He's not feeding it, not supposed to force it to anybody. So could it be Shakir? Yes. Could it be Coleman? It was last week. Could that be the same every week? Maybe. We just don't have enough information here. So you're looking at like three outlier guys, some combination of them. I'm going to go Quentin Johnston and Coleman. But I don't think there's a right answer here. I think the right answer will be revealed after the game. That's the answer I would go with. Got to set one, KW1 or Charles. Okay. So, I mean, I think, so here's what I'm doing with this. Like, and this is me. You don't have to do this. You have to make your own decision, but you have to make this decision, right? So I'm choosing to go. Like I thought the playing time was even enough, even if the outcome was a little less even than I would have liked. But I'm going to go with my initial diagnosis, which was the team preferred that Kenneth Walker be the guy. That's what they told us multiple times. In late August, they started telling us a slightly different story, mostly because Kenneth Walker hadn't been on the practice field much. So if you want to avoid him until you see that first game where he gets a robust workload, I'm not against playing Charbonnet. But you have to make a decision. This is going to be a decision you have to make each week. So I'm making the decision now. For me, I'm going with Kenneth Walker until I'm pretty sure that what the team wanted to have happen isn't happening. If you think it's already there, feel free to go Charbonnet. I think that this is a decision point for everyone who's in this position is going to be in. This might be subconsciously why I didn't draft any Zach Charbonnet because I didn't want to face this decision. Maybe I thought it was coming. Um, so I guess that's where I'm at. And by the way, I'll just say the projections team has no investment in all my narratives that I've built all up. I always talk about this. I tell myself happy stories about the players I want to draft. I built myself a happy story about Kenneth Walker all off season long. And I want it to come true. So I'm going to stick with it and work with it. The projections team has not done that. They have not told themselves a happy story, yet they still have Walker projected ahead. Let me look at the numbers just to verify that. It was last time I looked at the projections. Walker is running back 21 this week. Charbonnet is running back 30. So they're following the same approach I am. But again, I think this is going to be an individual thing, Keith. I mean, you're going to have to figure this out every week on your own. And at some point, it's going to reveal itself. The answer has not revealed itself yet. So you're in that tough spot, and I get it. So that's my approach. You can adjust yours according to how you feel about it. Thank you, Brian. Nice to see you. Pitts or Strange or Johnson, PPR. I'd probably play Juwan Johnson if that's what it is. If you give me first names, I'd probably do a better job of this, especially on guys like Smith or Johnson or Jones or whatnot. Start two, in fact, just in general, first and last name and who they're playing is very helpful. Start two at flex. So Laporta, Hollywood Brown, Tillman, Javonte Williams. I'm probably going Javonte Williams and Hollywood Brown for the anticipated workloads. I wouldn't be averse if you had a hunch about Laporta this week playing him, but I think I'm going with that. With Xavier Worthy out again this week, I don't know that we get the 16 targets we saw last week for Hollywood Brown, but we might see the 16 targets we saw for Hollywood Brown, right? So I'm not against that at all. That's the direction I would go right now. PPR, Epic Fail says, Warren, Ridley, Coleman, and Jameson. Probably in that order. Warren Ridley would be it. Hi, Parker. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, if everyone listens, I'm on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. If you just tuned this in, you didn't hear me out my your other opportunities. The other opportunities are Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Saturday night, uh, 7, 8 to 11. 8 to 11 on NFL Radio and the Fantasy Channel. So we simulcast. And we do a ton of calls. If you don't get your question yet, here you guys call there. We do a ton of questions on Friday night, Sunday morning, 11 to 1. Hello, ST Poker League. Full PPR. Who do I start in the flex? DeAndre Swift or Keenan Allen? If you want the sure volume, you're starting DeAndre Swift. If you want the swing for the best play, it's probably Keenan Allen. I'm not high. Let me just to be clear. I think DeAndre Swift's gonna get a cut of work. Roschon Johnson's back. I don't know that that makes any difference at all to what I expect. And it's a revenge game, so he's got that going for him. It's early in the season. He's running behind a new offensive line. He only had 3.3 yards a carry in the first game against Minnesota. Like, I'd like to see this get a little better, see the offensive line that they've rebuilt come together a little more, and just see the offense hit stride. But that said, I don't know how many other backs you're going to get, how many other players you're going to get with a sure 20 plus touches, right? So that's what DeAndre Swift gives. Also, he's be a breakaway threat. So got that going for it. So I would say he's the high floor playing. Keenan Allen is the I'm getting fancy with this play. And it seems like this is your flex, so you probably have some good options. Maybe that'll help inform you if you feel really comfortable with the board you've already built. Maybe you need a little more higher end, maybe Keenan Allen. But the floor play here is DeAndre Swift. Good luck, young Cole. Great. Standard, Waddle or Stevenson in the flex. I'm going to go Ramondre Stevenson until I see the Miami offense show signs of life. Maybe they'll do it. They need a tremendous course correction. We've heard all off season long the narrative there has been culture change must happen. That was a tweet I saw. Mike McDaniel. He was labeled offensive consultant for the 49ers in October. He's entirely possible. They need to turn this thing around. Everything's working. Tua was horrible, horrible, horrible. Through 200, the 200 interceptions he threw were under zero pressure. He didn't completely pass under pressure. Zero passes for the next gen stats under pressure. I'm gonna play Stevenson. I know they're talking about maybe Royal Lake can chime in here on what his thoughts are on the rotation. Um, I guess it's a pretty low floor. Like it might be horrible for Waddle, but it'll probably be horrible for Stevenson. Just even with a good workload, probably you're betting on a touchdown. I'm gonna reverse and go Waddle here. I'm like so out on Miami. I need to check myself. Pickens, Ridley, or Dunze. I'm playing Ridley and Dunze Pickens in that order. Pacheco versus Philadelphia, Keon Coleman versus New York Jets, or Diggs versus Miami. I'm playing Diggs versus Miami. And again, Keon Coleman is projected highly. He's projected as 30. I don't like the coverage. Josh McDaniels promised to run more. Well, if they run more, maybe that's more Stevenson and not more TreVeyon Henderson. We might see all three backs this week. Going back to this one real quick. I think Diggs was quietly. I mean, Keyshawn Boutte is drawing all the attention, but I think Diggs is going to be quietly solid. Keon Coleman is projected ahead of probably both these guys. I don't. I don't like playing guys going against Sauce Gardner. Traditionally, it's not. Historically, it has not been a positive. But I know, DK Metcalf ended up, and it's not 100% shadow, so there's that, and also there is the factor that Josh Allen seems to be perfectly willing to throw into very tight windows when Keon Coleman is involved. So I'm not against that. I probably need to see a little more from Pacheco, man. He just, I don't want to say high hope, but had hope, right? He full year to recover from the injury. Think back to last year, the first 2 weeks, he had 15 and 19 carries. Looked like he was well on his way to a true featured role. Game one, it's back to the same thing we saw at the end of last season, a 50-50 mix with Kareem Hunt, where neither of them do a heck of a lot. And Hunt it's the more premium touches near the goal line. So I'm going to probably say I'm going to wait and see on Pacheco. So it would be one of those two wide receivers. Coleman projected higher. I might feel like it's a little safer doing coverages, but I think he'll play either. Keenan Allen versus Vegas or Dobbins versus Indianapolis. Pick one. I missed last week because I was in Las Vegas drafting. Oh, it's a big one, John. A lot of my colleagues here at Football Guys also were there. I hope you saw them and said hello. I like Dobbins this week. I'm playing Dobbins. Again, this might be as like it's I'm thinking about like the last discussion with Swift. I mean, like it's a high volume play, but not a lot of upside. I think Dobbins has a little more upside, but not the same locked in volume. So, projectors actually not, but maybe I'm missing both here. This feels like a little bit hunchy. Like he's rated like right at the tail end of the startable receiving assets. So 36 is his projected for 12 points. I like Dobbins a little better than that. I don't think they're. I think if you go back to what's this number, because it's interesting. Going up against the Colts. Their defense allowed 15 plus points for 10 backs dating back to last season. That grew 7 on Devon Achane, 16 and a half last week. Um, I'm going to take Dobbins. I think he gets enough for workload or leading workload as a rusher. I'm going to go Dobbins. Lester completely forgot. Hit that notification bell, Lester. Hit it. Appreciate that. I wanted to talk a minute about AJ Brown and the Eagles passing attack. So he was one of the guys I used as an example last week. Talked about the lack of work in August that it concerned me, and so he just basically shut out the Cowboys. He won not a single route. He was only targeted 4 times, a few targets. A lot of questions. It's the hamstring. AJ Brown thinks we're all full of nonsense about that. He had an interview with Jordan Tulsi. He said it was his own scheme. It was nothing else. But I'll be fine. Everything's good. And he may well be right, right? Like, but also he missed most of August. Also, my bigger concern with this offense is the volume. They completed what 19 passes. They threw 23 passes in that game. Last year they had 10 games where they threw fewer than 30 passes. They were 10-1 there. 5 games with 30 or more. The rest of those games with 30 or fewer, they were 10-1. They want to run the ball. Like so I think pass volume is going to be concerned. I think either of those guys, like objectively, AJ Brown is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Is he in the ideal spot to maximize those talents? I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up because we talked about it last week, and it was a rough start. And what are the possibilities he can rebound? Well, they're good because he's super good, but also that passing volume is going to be a concern for me all year because I think it's going to be minimal. They had 100 and some fewer targets pass attempts last year than they did the year before, and fewer than the year before. So that's going to be a concern going on. From what you've seen so far, will the Dolphins come back or they toast? They look like toast to me, but hopefully they can reverse that, right? Like I hate to make a decision based on a single thing, right? Like any single thing, any single piece of evidence. We have evidence dating back to last where portions of it were not good, and it seemed to be falling apart. We have an off-season long narrative built by the people who cover that team on a daily basis that it's things are rough there. Mike McDaniels is under a lot of pressure, definitely on the hot seat. So they need to turn it around. I don't know that they will. I think that when Devon Achane remains a really good player, I think Tua needs to get on point, and that's going to be the big problem. Last year, the big problem was he was not there. The big problem this year seems to be he's there, and so that's between a rock and a hard place. So I don't have a lot of optimism. It seems like a really frustrating thing, but all it takes is one good week to turn things around. Is Rachaad White better or worse handcuff in season long than Ray Davis? If I had James Cook, I'd feel pretty good about Ray Davis. If I had Bucky Irving, am I 100% sure Sean Tucker wouldn't get enough work? Also, though, a lot of talking the football guys chat about possible trades for the Commanders with Austin Eckler out. They don't have that receiving piece. Sean White would be one of those pieces. Would it be crazy? I probably would not do that. It's borderline crazy. Well, so I view Bannon more as the wide receiver 3 on Cleveland. Our projection team views him more as the tight end 2. They have him ranked at tight end 17. I think he'll outperform that. I think getting something close to what I got last week is not like outrageous over expectation, but it is the high end of the range, 63 yards. Like it. So let me just look at what the projections say on this and how far off it is. 17. Tight end 17 is Bannon. Hawkinson is the tight end at 9. I don't call anyone crazy, but I think it would be a reach until we have more evidence, right? Yeah, I think that's what you're doing. Like I talked about this a lot. Like when you got to that point in the draft, I didn't want to draft. A lot of drafts. I went running back, because here I am staring at AJ Brown and Lad McConkey, and I wondered, they invested in a Commander, the Chargers. I went back to what I said before. There's been like one fantasy relevant receiver on that team. Maybe there'll still be a little hockey, but it seemed like they have more pieces there, and I was concerned. All that said, Justin Herbert looks like he could fuel the fires of 30 receivers at this moment. So I'm still hopeful there too. But that AJ McConkey pick was one I didn't want to make this summer. Is Christian Kirk worth holding on to? Probably. Yeah, the roster. Quentin Johnston takes the seat. And I hope doesn't score 2 touchdowns this week, so I don't feel like super shocked. All right, everybody. I got a few more minutes. We got a few more questions. Get them in. What do we make of the Cincinnati Bengals slow start? Not happy about that, right? It seems weird. It seems like this was the first year where they get the entire training camp. Joe Burrow is there for the first time since his rookie year, gets a full training camp. And what happened there? Like 141 yards of offense. Our Chase was horrible. So last three season openers, regular season openers, Joe Burrow has 3, 8.1, and 8.8 points. All right, Adil. Two running back, 2 wide receiver flex, 1 super flex, dynasty PPR league. So I keep the Walker Charbonnet duo or try and trade up for a top 5 running back. I've got great depth in my wide receiver Skyler, my running back wide Skyler. Yes, I'd be thinking about that. Like I'm super high on Ken Walker, but everything needs to work out to the narrative that I built for myself based on the off-season long information. So that obviously in the moment isn't coming to fruition. So would I be considering this? Yes. Like I do feel like if you had that combination and you knew which one was the right one to play this week, you'd get solid running back 2 production every single week. I don't know if you're going to know that every week. As things sit now, Deal. I mean, you don't know that. So yeah, I would consider that. I would be just thinking about that too. All right, Pickens or Devontae Adams. I'm playing Devontae Adams. Hollywood or Mooney? I'm playing Hollywood. Mooney has practiced the last couple of weeks, but didn't practice most of August. Hollywood's in a good spot, although he needs some time this summer as well. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate you. Appreciate everyone coming every week. Once again, if you aren't familiar with me, I'm Bob Harris. I've been doing this quite a while. I do it at footballguys.com. Find me there every Thursday. The Fantasy Notebook comes out. Every Friday, I do my 5 questions collaboration with Gary Davenport. Every Saturday, my In and Out column comes out. So is the sound not good? Do I need to work on the sound or not? That's like 2 complaints. I guess I need to work at it. I'll listen back and try and figure it out. Hi, Dame. Thanks for coming. And yes, watch the playback. Yeah, I'll work on the sound if it's not good. I mean, phone right in my face. It's always worked really good, or mostly has worked really good. So I don't know. I'll have to look into it. Super disappointing that we put all this effort into this and people can't hear. So we'll try and figure it out. Anyway, in and out column every Saturday at Football Guys. Do the news. So go get the daily email update if you don't already. Uh, Come see you every night. Cecil Lammy, Stephen Bloom, me do the news throughout the week. Get a nice little capsule. All the article features are sent out your way as well. So check that out. And also all the premium content of Football Guys is fantastic. You should get that as well. Listen to me on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Take calls during the week and talk about things, free agency early in the week, lineup decisions later in the week. And then tonight, I will be taking calls too. I'll be on NFL Radio, Football Diehard Show from 8 to 11. Lots going on there. So Pat Fitzmaurice will be the guest. We'll talk a little DFS too in the program. And then tomorrow, the pregame show with Jeff Mans. So check that out. Like Stanford likes the podcast. Yeah, check out the Daily Update podcast, Daily Update podcast every morning, every week morning. 10 minutes, just an update of the NFL news and fantasy analysis you need to know to start the day. So I appreciate y'all checking that out when you get the opportunity. Let's see if I got any more questions here. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. Always good to see Mr. Stanford. See if I missed a question before we call it a day. Thank you, Dickory Man. Nice to see you. I got that one. I think I did miss out. Like last week, I missed questions and people were unhappy with me. Or one person was. I don't know. I would be unhappy too. All right, that looks like it's it again. To run down the news from this morning, Xavier Worthy ruled out. Quinshon Judkins added to the active roster. Jalen Polk traded to the New Orleans Saints, where, as I mentioned before, the top three receivers had been Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and Brandon Cooks. Now maybe Jalen Polk can work his way back in. Juwan Johnson, one of the top free agent pickups this week. I look at 30% target share last week, 90% route participation. That's huge. And maybe the guy that was the most surprising out of nowhere. But again, I love the passing volume they had. They were not in a huge deficit. They threw the ball 46 times. So maybe there'll be more of that ahead for him. All right, everybody, that's it. Good luck week 2. I'll be back this time next week, week 3. Hopefully we'll have more information. We can start making better decisions. And that's what happened as we get a little more feedback of what's going on, especially with Kenneth Walker. That'll be the one we're all looking for. I appreciate y'all very much, and we'll catch you back here next. Oh, got a pancake on a breakfast burger. Who has that? I mean, how can you not do that? That's like a hot dog on your hamburger, of course. Wouldn't we all? Thank you. Appreciate it, Armando. More Swift Starves, Rome, or Montgomery Full. Unenthusiastic. Probably Swift. Unenthusiastic Swift. An unenthusiastic Swift. No worries, man. I appreciate it. I'm over the hour. Happy to take one last question if I can get it. Uh, Again, I'm not super high on Swift, but I'm super high on the volume. I think he'll get more than the other players. I want to see what the Lions' offense is. It's possible Green Bay's defense is super good because they've been super good 2 games, and that was the problem week 1. Also, week 1 was the problem with week 1. Everybody's not on strike yet, so we'll see next week. Thank you all very much for coming. I will be back next week, same time, same channel. Football Guys Live. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, do all those things. Also, of course, check out the Audible channel. People and Sig doing their thing there. Check out the Football Guys Fantasy Football channel. Dave, Alfredo, and crew doing their thing there. The Dynasty channel, Jeff Bell, they doing their thing there. Find me and Matt Waldman out there floating around doing stuff as well. So thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you next week.